This little video is designed to introduce the fact that we at St Giles have decided to use the Book of Common Prayer for most of the Sundays in Lent this year. And we thought that it might be helpful to have a little video to talk about why that is, the gift of the prayer book, and introduce it to those especially who are not sure about it, never come across it, or whatever. The Book of Common Prayer is actually the default liturgy of the whole of the Church of England, and all the subsequent prayers, most commonly nowadays common worship, the liturgies, the prayers that we use day in, day out, are actually alternative options to the still default Book of Common Prayer. It's the book with all the these and thous, all that beautiful language that now seems so strange and sort of like anachronistic, a Shakespeare play, if you like, if you're used to those kind of words. But actually, I want to encourage you to think of this, the Book of Common Prayer, as a real gift. Why? Well, in this book, which often is in little small volumes, is every prayer that anybody was supposed to ever need in their entire lives. Morning and evening each day, Sunday by Sunday, birth, marriage and death, for inclement weather and for journeys by sea, for the coronation of kings, for confirmation and ordination. It's a one-stop shop for the English people. It's in English, even though it's sort of oldie-worldy language, in English to be clearly understandable by everybody, unlike some of the medieval Latin rites it replaced. And it is an argument, a synthesis, sometimes more of an argument than a synthesis, of the inherited faith of the Catholic West that the Church of England is thoroughly a part of, and the new Protestant ideas that were emerging in Europe at the times when the first drafts were being written. What we have now is the 1662 prayer book, which is when King Charles II comes back to the throne and wants to put behind him the Cromwellian Puritanism and again re-establish what Queen Elizabeth I had come up with, which is a settlement in England, a settlement of the Catholic faith and the Protestant movement, a settlement that could bring peace and unity to the English peoples in their worship. And it still functions as that. So sometimes it seems a bit grim and glum, and it's all very rehearsing again how sinful and unworthy we are. That's the Calvinistic theology coming through, and with the cross at the absolute centre of the religious experience. But all the beautiful collects, the prayers for each Sunday by Sunday, are basically the medieval Latin prayers of the older rite that the genius Archbishop Thomas Cranmer translated so beautifully into English. The words, the cadence, the register of the speech is supposed to be very easily learned off by heart. It's designed to be such. I certainly have found it so. So there's a real gift there in that ebb and flow. And when it comes to all the Calvinistic woe is me, I have to say there are times in my life when I've been very grateful for the confession as it appears in the prayer book. Maker of all things, judge of all men, we acknowledge and bewail our manifold sins and wickedness which we from time to time most grievously have committed against thy divine majesty. At times, those words that I would never have made up for myself have said exactly what I need to say. They've put on my tongue the words that I need to say, which is to accept the limits of my humanity and not to paper over or try and rose tint the depths of the fragility of that humanity. So stepping into this hundreds of years old momentum of prayer, sometimes it can sound odd on our lips, and other times it says exactly what we need and can be deeply therapeutic and truthful in our worship. There's lots more of it that's sung for us at St Giles. We sing the Creed, which is so true. The Creed is not a kind of dirge-like recitation. It isn't a legal contract that we have to rehearse in order to win God's brownie points. It's a hymn of praise. It's a great stream of worship, thousands of years in the making and thousands of years in the living out. So it's right that it trips off our tongue in song, because it's a hymn of praise after all. And these tunes, the music to which the liturgy is set, these words, like the prayer of humble access, we do not presume to come to this thy table, O merciful Lord, trusting in our own righteousness, but in thy manifold and great mercies. Take them into your heart, take them deeply into your heart, and they soon become off by heart. And that can be a real gift for life. That's a gift for the prayer book for life. Like many clergy, when I go into care homes or into the homes of elderly people, perhaps living with dementia, to take Holy Communion, very often somebody hasn't spoken for days, weeks, and then when they hear these prayers, their mind lightens, their lips open, and they often join in. And if they can't actually join in, although often they do, you can see in them they've been touched by these words that have touched a very deep place, past their confusion of their mind, a deep place in their heart. They've been a real gift to us as a people for hundreds of years, and they continue to be so if we take them to heart. So, the Book of Common Prayer. Long, tortuous, oldie, worldy, very negative. Well, it can be. But I want to encourage us at St. Giles this year to see it as a gift from our forebears that's just as fresh as it is ancient. One that, if we take it to heart, can continue to bear life in us and with us. And it can speak for us in a time that is so fast changing and so confusing, a world that is so dark at times. It can speak for us and comfort us in that rhythm lived out in farmsteads and villages for hundreds of years, an ancient rhythm of seasons and people and birth and life and death. It brings us back to those fundamental rhythms of the human life and of community. And somehow the prayer book speaks so vitally and vividly of those things. So I encourage you to be encouraged by it, to step with boldness into this gift that belongs to all of us living in these islands, and to really relish it in this holy season of Lent, and to let it bring its spiritual depths into your living out of Lent this year.